The last time we drove a Kia Carnival, it was a 2022 model. Our child was much, much younger, and we were too. How do we like the thoroughly refreshed 2025 model? We will talk about it.
But first, here's how much the Carnival costs.
There's blue in here, and colors and interiors are something that I am really excited to see Kia and some other manufacturers bring back.
The interior is tasteful and functional. There are generously sized drink holders here, a smaller one in the door.
You cannot put a bottle in that bottle holder unless it's some sort of tiny ant bottle or something.
What is not ant-sized is this generous sauce pocket.
20-piece nugget fans, welcome. Oftentimes with minivans, you have this big open space down here where you can like throw a purse. We don't have that. Well, how's your purse doing?
It's fine on the floor, and honestly, there's so much functionality here, I wouldn't want to lose that.
A reasonable sized center console. To the phone zone, we have 2 power ports.
And a wireless phone charger. The passenger also has a small nook here for storing a phone.
Also, there's a little like coat hook over on the back side of your seat. Speaking of seats, how do you find seat comfort?
Reasonably comfortable, but I really appreciate how adjustable it is.
Moving to the second row, we've got sliding and recline functions in the outboard. And then that middle seat, they call it slide flex seating. I have never seen a seat that slides as much. When we had her as a baby, I remember we had a Honda Odyssey. We were able to move her forward. Here, same deal. And then going the opposite direction, I'm not sure under what circumstance I would want to slide that far back, unless you have a small war going with children in the second row, and you just want to create a demilitarized zone. Slide middle kid all the way back, essentially to the third row. If you don't have anybody in that middle seat, you can flip the seat back forward, and then you've got cup holders and like a little table. Kiddo, what would you do with that little table?
Eat those little tortilla chips and salsa.
Delicious. As long as I'm talking to you, Kiddo, how do you find climbing in and out of the Kia Carnival?
Easy with like all the grab handles.
It looks like you're just tall enough that you might be able to use the grab handle, but if you were like a little kid, do you think you'd be able to use it to get in and out?
Oh no.
Low step in height, and I find getting to the third row, there's plenty of clearance with the second row slid forward. And if you don't need that second row middle seat, you can just pull the whole thing right out.
I found moving the seats around to be a little bit tricky.
There's only 2 levers, but I think there's enough resistance in them that sometimes you'll pull on one thinking, oh, this is how I flip the seat back up. And then it's like, oh, I guess that's not it. Then you go to the other one, and then that's definitely not it. So you go back to the first. I describe that as the USB-A conundrum. Oh, that's not working. No, that's not working. I guess it's the first one again? I think perhaps it's because the seats are removable that we don't have it. But in, let's say, the Kia Telluride, there's a 1-button push where it'll release and automatically slide right out of the way. I wouldn't mind seeing that here. In terms of actual space, plenty of room in the second row. When I climb into the third row, as an average American male, 5'10", long torso, my hair barely brushes in the outboard position, and then it's a little bit tighter than that in the middle position. But one thing I do like about that third row is that the foot-to-butt ratio is favorable. It's high enough that our daughter's feet do touch the ground, but low enough that I don't feel like I've got my knees in my face. We have standard smart power sliding side doors. From the driver's seat, you can open and close them. Let's say you're doing a school pickup line thing. And then also, they have the same functionality that Kia offers in the tailgates, which is you can just walk up to the side of the vehicle with the key in your pocket, and after 3 seconds, it'll automatically open up. Or you can turn that off if you don't want to mess around with that kind of thing. But if you've got your hands full of like groceries or baby, that's a convenient way to get in the vehicle. You can indeed remove the second row seats, which makes a lot of space, but you better be buff because those seats are heavy. Also, I did notice that if you set them on the ground, you can use those seats once removed as comfortable seats for sitting out in nature. For the third row, we've got very simple functionality. You just got a lever, pull it back in, and it drops right into the lower cargo area. Okay, there have been a couple of times where we pulled the one on the driver's side and it didn't quite want to work correctly, but generally speaking, they work well. Regarding cargo space after the third row, it's a very deep well, and so if you have the vehicle loaded up with people, good news, you can bring your stuff too. Sweetie, what's the latch situation?
There are 3 sets of lower anchors in the second row and 2 sets in the third row. It was very simple to snap our booster into all seats except for that middle second row one. It's a little snug. There's also room for a rear-facing car seat in the second and third row.
As for safety, the NHTSA hasn't rated the Kia Carnival yet, and the IIHS, it looks like they've done some testing, but it's incomplete. So still waiting on crash test data. But we do know that there's a full suite of active driver assist technology, plus 7 airbags. I also like the fact that they have a sensor here in the cabin, not just like door logic, but an actual sensor to detect whether or not you've left something alive in your minivan.
Like me.
Family, what do we think? Is the Kia Carnival family friendly?
Family friendly.
Family friendly.
Family friendly, yay! Rear window test. Not all the way down. Woo, bunk. Armrest test. Driving in a comfortable 8 and 4, I have a little bit of difficulty reaching the armrest. I can kind of fingertip the steering wheel and then get out there. Once my elbows are on though, it is a soft spot. I'm gonna go 65% inboard, 60% outboard. Let's move on to style. Minivans have an image problem. Consequently, sometimes it's tempting to make your minivan cool by going big style-wise, and then you just look like a desperate minivan trying to be cool. I like the Kia Carnival because it doesn't look like it's trying too hard.
But it does look like it's trying. There's that metallic piece on the rear 3/4 panel that gives it some flair. There's also some accent lighting around the headlights that I think looks nice.
Are you talking about the new for 2025 amber lighting elements?
Yes.
Fresh fascias, front and rear, and they've also moved where the license plate goes for 2025.
What?
Rather than kind of a smooth shape, it looks a little bit SUV-esque, but not like fake SUV. I'll also note that we have 2 sunroofs. It's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. And if you're curious about the color of our tester, it is ceramic silver. That's $500 extra. Regardless of what color floats your boat, Flying Eyes Eyewear offers lenses probably in that color. I'm a mirrored rose guy and occasionally a mirrored emerald guy. There they are. Whatever style you go with, Flying Eye's thin, patented Resilimide design makes them comfortable under a headset or helmet or in daily life. They're made for pilots, but you can wear them too. If you'd like to learn more about Flying Eyes Eyewear, you can go to the link in the description below. And if you want to make a really bold choice, buy 2 pairs and wear them simultaneously. Ridicule comes free. This looks as stupid as I think it looks, right?
Oh no, you look very handsome.
Great. We're feeling pretty positive about the style of the Kia Carnival, but what do you think? Like it? Dislike it? Tell us in the comments. Also, thank you. Thank you for supporting our channel with a like, leaving a kind comment, subscribing, maybe buying a pair of Flying Eye sunglasses if you're in the market for eyewear. Whatever you do to support us, thank you. Onward to In Motion. While commuting in the Kia Carnival, I found the suspension to have a velvety quality over big bumps. It would just kind of like roll with it, but in a very graceful way. I also found the interior to be quiet, which is really helpful when you have a vehicle that is really made to haul a lot of people. You want to aid conversation. The Kia Carnival does that well. When cornering, I find it competent and stable. It's a very reassuring vehicle to drive. I do find that the balanced steering ratio is balanced. Not too slow, not too fast. It's great. Something new for 2025 is the hybrid powertrain we have here. Let's say you drive a Toyota Sienna and you're used to the kind of electronic CVT powertrain feel.
Is there a cat under the hood? What is that?
If you hear those sounds coming from the Kia Carnival, then yes, there is a cat under there, because we actually have a very traditional kind of powertrain feel here, thanks to a 6-speed automatic transmission paired with a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine. And I think a lot of people will appreciate the familiarity. One area where it struggled a little bit, with the new hybrid powertrain, I found power to be adequate, but not great. And then it made me wonder, like, wait, if you load this up with like 8 people, what kind of power are we gonna have coming up the mountain? We do have a hybrid system from a stop or a slow speeds. I don't think there's enough power coming from the electric motor to give you adequate acceleration on these hills. You push in on the accelerator, the engine has to get involved, but it's gonna be a beat. Not enough, then too much. These things here that look like paddle shifters, they actually control regenerative brake function. I'm just gonna pull over right here, come off the accelerator. We're on level 3, and let's see if it brings us to a whole stop, which I'm guessing it won't, and it doesn't. Let's use the brakes and come to a complete stop. Let's see if it's smooth. That
was very weird.
Eventually smooth, but as I was letting off at the very end for that super smooth stop, the creep factor came in, and then it was like, oh, we're not quite sure what we're doing. Generally speaking, I found the brakes to feel pretty natural, but that was a weird moment. We do have a couple of modes to play around with. Sport mode, slightly heavier steering and more prompt powertrain behavior. Eco, which I will almost never use. And then we've got Smart, which just kind of figures it out. Floored. Whee! Little bit of a beats to get that downshift, but when it came in, the pull was adequate. Last thing, the version we're driving has Highway Driving Assist 2, which is a driver assist feature. It'll keep you in your lane and keep you from vehicles based on speed and distance. I find the steering behavior to be reasonably refined, and also there's an automatic lane change function that worked great. That's what I think about driving the Kia Carnival. What does Sweetie think? Evie's at the wheel. Point us generally that direction and floor it. Whee!
Ooh,
How's power off the line?
that felt plenty sweetie to me.
How do you find the steering? Going where you want?
Yeah, the steering works well. No complaints here.
In previous eras, driving a minivan meant kind of like a wallowing feel, and we really don't have that here.
I was surprised actually that I did not find the size of this vehicle intimidating.
There might be something about the visuals. You don't have like a big hood in front of you or anything like that. What about outward visibility?
Over my right shoulder, there is a big blind spot where our child's seat is. Over my left shoulder though, visibility is great.
Blind spot warning does come standard, which is a little bit reassuring. If we were in the market for a minivan, are there any game killers that would keep you from driving a Kia Carnival?
No game killers here.
Excellent. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. All right, let's move on to remarks. Infotainment, the standard screen is 8 inches, but we've got the dual 12.3-inch display under a single pane of glass. With either screen, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto smartphone connectivity, which is wireless, comes standard.
I do miss the style of the old Carnival infotainment system. It had a pecan purple palette that made it look super vaporwave, but otherwise, I found this infotainment system very easy to use.
A feature we have in this Carnival that we didn't have in the previous is voice activation. Hey Kia! But I activated you in the infotainment system. Hey Kia. Hey Kia. I'm hot.
Setting the temperature to 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
My voice activation example has made me too cool, which is a really great segue into this control system right here. We've got basically the same interface that functions for both the audio and climate controls, and it goes back and forth. Once you get used to it, it actually works pretty well. And one trick is if you hold down on this transition button, you can give it a default for what it'll go back to. So I've got it set to default back to infotainment.
I like that because it was defaulting to climate earlier and I kept accidentally turning the temperature way down because I needed to turn down the volume.
A couple of family-friendly features we've got in the Kia Carnival. There's a quiet mode, which will deactivate the rear speakers so you don't wake up sleeping children. Passenger talk. I should have my voice amplified to the rear passengers. Is it working, child? Can you hear me speaking?
Oh yeah, that is really cool.
Is it cool or is it annoying? Oh no, I can hear too much daddy.
It's cool.
Yay! I'll turn that off.
Aw.
And then dual entertainment screens back there, 14.6 inches, I believe. However, they are only offered on the highest SX Prestige trim, which is the one we're driving here, but we don't have them. And they're $2,500. And I always think, man, just buy 2 iPads. That's probably the cheaper, smarter option. Sorry, kid, we don't have screens to distract you. You'll have to stay engaged with the conversation.
No.
Speaking of the SX Prestige, they also offer these VIP lounge seats as a no-cost option when you go with that highest trim. In our experience, they're kind of cool, but they make it very difficult to get into the third row. And then the engine startup and shutdown sound, to me, sounds like a jingle for a local news update.
Do we need some banter to go with that?
Boy, have you never thought we'd find the mayor in that compromising situation?
And now a squirrel riding water skis.
Look at that little guy go! Now let's see what's under the hood in a test inspired by my buddy Brian. Here's where you check the oil level. You have to remove this little cover, but that's where you can add oil. And there's where the washer fluid reservoir resides. Oh, and something new we're trying out. Here's what the horn sounds like. All right, let's talk engine choices. The base engine is a 3.5-liter V6 with an 8-speed automatic transmission. The version we're driving is the 1.6-liter turbocharged hybrid. With either engine, only front-wheel drive is offered. You cannot get all-wheel drive, but 87 octane is fine.
Sweetie,
Yes.
will you share our trim recommendation?
I better, otherwise this is going to be a very boring segment. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential Kia Carnival features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. The base LX trim covers essentials like 3-zone climate control, USB ports in all 3 rows, smart key access, plus Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But we'd suggest spending an extra $2,000 to go up one level to the LXS that upgrades to 8-passenger seating with that cool slide flex second row seat, faux leather interior, an 8-way power driver's seat, and heated front seats. As for competitors, there's the Chrysler Pacifica with its cool stow-and-go seats, optional all-wheel drive, or a plug-in hybrid variant. There's the Honda Odyssey, which has been updated for 2025, though it still doesn't offer a hybrid or all-wheel drive. And then there's the Toyota Sienna with its all-hybrid lineup, which is more efficient than the Carnival hybrid, even with all-wheel drive. I'll add that if it were us, we would get the hybrid version of the LXS trim. It costs an extra $2,000, but over a normal ownership period, you are going to make that money back just in gas savings. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. And now it is our daughter's time to shine. Child, can you tell us what is your favorite feature in the Kia Carnival?
Passenger view.
What do you like about passenger view, child?
I can sit in the third row and do some annoying thing, and there's no way you can stop me.
It actually works at night too. There's a night vision functionality. So you could be back there doing all sorts of terrible things. We can see it, but we are powerless. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Kia Carnival. May I have a 5 and a 5, and you come get your high five. Bam. And now please enjoy our AI generated synopsis song about the Kia Carnival.
Oh, look at